that fall was a lot different. They weren't a champion, I was.
And new Olympia champion! Ooh, there it is!
It's very hard when you know that your best days are still here, but there's so much more here, and you can't do both. All I want to do is provide value for people. I want them to champion through life. If I would have done that, that would have prevented a young Phil Heath from ever wanting to take his own life because he wasn't getting what he wanted in basketball.
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
Hey friends, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Fitness CEO Podcast. And holy smokes, do I have an episode for you. I'm in the presence of greatness today, and I am so pumped up to be able to introduce you to the best and greatest of all time, 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, Mr. Phil Heath, who's gonna talk about mindset, who's gonna talk about leadership, who's gonna talk about transition and identity. So I cannot wait for you to see this episode. I wanna welcome my man, my friend, Phil Heath, to the show. My man, Phil,
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, yes sir.
Long time coming. Very excited for you to be here. Thank you so much for your time. We met last year at the High Performance Summit, and then we're here at BK Live. You just crushed it on stage. And
Thank you.
We're gonna dive deep. I wanna take this interview a little bit different angle. And if you're watching this and you've been in fitness, you know who this gentleman is. I'm standing with greatness right now.
Thank you.
And we're gonna talk a little bit about bodybuilding clearly, but really the big message, I wanna kind of talk a little bit about your transition afterwards. But before we get to that, the first thing I want to uncover is your mindset, because I'm looking at this bronze right here, and clearly, like you put in the work, but it all starts here. So, Phil, from your lens, when did you start develop your championship mindset? Was that like factory installed, or did that grow with time?
I think everyone has that default already installed within them. I think what happens is somewhere in your early childhood, they either got turned on or turned off. Maybe a parent told you no, told you would never be anything, or maybe they encouraged you, said you can do everything you want. So I think it starts there. So I was always the kid that definitely had, positive influences. And then I did this thing called, what I like to say, play life with your eyes. So I watched TV and I watched sports, and I only liked reading books that had to do with sports because they had to do with achievement, because it's a measurement of success, right? It's a measurement. I wasn't understanding business concepts as a kid, but I was always thinking like, okay, ball goes through a hoop or over through a goalpost, or, in a hole or something like that. And wow, that's really neat. Fighting, stuff like that, watching boxing. I mean, I was, watching the prime of Mike Tyson's career in the 80s and 90s and stuff. So I got to see a lot of these cool things. So athletics was key. So I always liked the competitive spirit through the Olympics. I mean, you got to think, like back in the 80s, the Olympics was a big freaking deal.
Huge.
The NBA Finals was on tape delay back then, but the Olympics was like ongoing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot different. I think it was installed back then that I just loved watching winning. And I also knew that it required a lot of work. And growing up and being short and saying, okay, well, I still want to be able to touch the net or touch the backboard or touch the rim or slam dunk, I knew that it required work. So I did that work. I was the one that was a self-starter. I was the one that would do the drills and all that stuff. I was the one that didn't take no for an answer. And I felt like the levels of competition that I had growing up with all the kids around me, because I was the only child, so I had no one to fight my own battles, right? If there was a bully, I either had to knuckle up or take the beating or run.
It was you.
Or it was just me. It was how I handled my emotions. So the regulation of my emotions were definitely pivotal. But also, what do I really want? Do I enjoy winning? Do I enjoy success? What does it feel like getting an A+ on your paper? What does it feel like to know that you can spell and define the word and do a spelling bee? What did that feel like to do a math contest where they'd hold up the cue cards, and were you the one that was shy? No, I was the one that was like, I got this. I know my times tables. I know division. I know fractions. I was just always like eager to learn more and more. I was always that guy. And yeah, it came with oh, Phil thinks he's this, or goody two shoes this, or oh, he sits up in front of the class because of, and I was like, no, actually I'm sitting in front of the class because I want to learn, like I want to hear it. You're sitting in the back because you want to screw around, or you think you're cool and this and that, and yeah, you're throwing papers and yeah, that sucks, but as I got older, I realized those same people are not going to be successful. I'm putting myself in the best position to stand out and to be a pioneer. You're alone. So I had to learn early on, being raised as an only child, that maybe I was predestined to find out who I am at a very early age, understand my emotions have to be in check. And as long as I have a willingness to learn and to go into massive action, day in and day out, I'm getting one step closer. And having that competitive spirit, not being afraid to compete. Let's play one-on-one. Let's play a one-on-one half court. Let's play one-on-one full court. Let's, who can be first to touch the lines? Are you the one that gets close to the line and when the coach isn't looking, you sprint back? Or are you the one that says, even if he's not looking, I'm still gonna touch it? I was the one that still wanted to touch it. If anything, I wanted to put my foot on the line, not just my hand on the line, because I was training myself to do it harder. No different than I would if I was playing a video game. I could beat the game, but can I beat it with the highest score than you did? And everything was a competition. So I think all of that said led me into, you know, greater positioning when I think I said it with Chris. When I was interviewed by the Seattle Times and they asked me what I was going to do, and I said I'm going to be a pro at something, it's because I did the work prior to allow myself permission to even say it. And I think a lot of us won't give ourselves permission because we know deep down we haven't done the work yet.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's why
That's the foundation.
right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
won't go after
the
prom queen to ask her out because we haven't even practiced. Like, how do I present myself? Do I, like, oh, hey, I'm Phil, would you like to go out to prom? You know, like, hey, get over it.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. Have some confidence. Well, I don't have confidence. I've never talked to a girl. Well, you're going to talk today. You know, like, learn how to communicate, learn how to firm handshake with people, learn how to listen. So, you know, I was at an early age always wanting to succeed because what was the opposite? The opposite was always, if people don't graduate high school or whatever, you know they're getting into drugs, gangs, bad things. And all that sounded to me was a person that lacked accountability. They had procrastination, laziness, and these are some talented people that I grew up around that easily could have probably been a professional athlete or a business entrepreneur or entrepreneur, but at some point they maybe just didn't believe or didn't watch their associations, decided to stay in the car too long before someone did something wrong, didn't listen to the whisper in their ear saying, get out of this car, you're about to do something ignorant, and it ruined their life. So I did not want that. And like I said, I mean, growing up, you had a lot of, I mean, we could go all the way back in the 80s where you had like ABC after school specials, teaching you not to get in the car with some stranger and stuff, even though they're offering you a ride home. I mean, kids today, they wouldn't even know what an ABC after school special was, right? They don't even know what DARE was, or, hey, last thing you want to do is be on a milk carton, so you better make sure that you walk in groups with people. Yeah, like.
Blast in the past.
Right? Yeah. So all that stuff mattered. And I think I'm glad that I listened, and I'm glad that I had parents that, although were very strict, I thank them for that, because to me that meant that they cared. To me that meant that they cared. And as an adult, I don't have kids of my own, but I did help raise a stepson through my first marriage. When you're a guardian of someone, it's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
And I still took accountability of saying, like, even though he's not my blood, like, I'm basically fathering another man's child. I think that's even bigger to a degree.
Sure.
Because I don't want to disrespect the father.
Sure.
Right? And have him and his ex, you know, fight because I'm the worst common denominator in that kid's life. So leading with intentions, watching associations, making sure that you empower yourself all the time, and being willing to be humbled at times and recognize your flaws and raise your hand to say, I need some help, is important.
Totally.
Yeah.
Phil, when you were talking about mindset, you kind of took me on that journey. One thing that just, I realized vision. As you articulate your story, I articulate that ever since you were a young guy, you've had vision. How has that really aided you, not only in your youth, but also to your basketball career, your Olympic athlete career, or excuse me, your bodybuilding career, and then now, as you move forward?
Visualization is always key with sports, right? I was always taught the science behind it. So seeing a basketball go through the hoop over and over again is supposed to wire something, I guess, to teach you how to do it. Because now you see it and you can hear the swish, and now you know what it's supposed to look like and sound like. So I used to think of these things, and everything had to be technical. I always had to break things down, why does this work?
Really?
Yeah, I was always interested in so why does the microwave work? Because you had to think in the 80s, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Why does that work? Huh.
You're just always reverse engineering.
Yeah. My stepdad, he was a TV engineer for an NBC affiliate called King 5 Television in Seattle, Washington. So he would always bring back I saw the first Laserdisc, I saw the first CD player and stuff like that. We go to Radio Shack and get they used to sell a box, and it would have all these electrodes and stuff, and it give you a wiring kit. So if you wired certain things the right way, a light bulb would go off, or a sound would be created, like a synthesizer, or a thing to do Morse code with. It's I was trying to learn Morse code as a kid, you know what I'm saying? That was a toy for me, instead of just saying here's your Nintendo, beat it. Yeah, I think my parents just had more, they saw the PC, the personal computer come out, back then, and make it imperative. They had the vision, right, of seeing what the future would be like with computers. So I was okay, well, I'm just competitive, right? So if you teach me something, I'm going to be competitive at it. So if you teach me, I need to learn how to type. No, that's not how you do it. Well, how? So then I'd learn. I get frustrated, but I'd learn. And then I'd learn how to do it super fast. So when I was in high school, then I could take keyboarding and get an A grade. So my parents really set me up for certain successes. They had the vision, and then I applied that same vision for myself. So going into college, I was probably more prepared, even though my high school was not the best scholastically, to get me a scholarship at a private university, like University of Denver, where I studied IT and business.
Yeah, which is wild.
It is wild.
Wow, good on you.
But I gave myself no limitations. I didn't like being in the box. So that meant that I had to think of there not being any boxes. People say think outside the box. I'm like, well, what box are you talking about? Because I don't see one with me. Maybe you see me in one, but I don't see me in one. So if I don't put myself in a box, I get to have full autonomy. I can do whatever I want. So that's what drove the creativity. So with basketball, I grew up, like I said, in Seattle, so it rained. A lot.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the inner city, so there's not a bunch of rec centers nearby that I could go shoot all night long. I was a kid that would get out of school at 3:15, go home. If I had to go to practice, I would, but I would come back home, do homework, eat, and go outside and shoot. I'd just work on my game, in the driveway.
Was that your dream, to be an NBA player?
Yeah, man. I mean, who wouldn't want to? It just looked cool, and I was really good at it. So, and it was a game that I could play. I could practice on my own nonstop. Football, I guess you could play catch with someone. Baseball, you can't really play that game by yourself, right? Basketball, you can play it by yourself. You could make a game of horse by yourself. You could play knockout with a friend. You could, how many free throws can I make in a row? I can critique the follow through. As a matter of fact, I went to a 24-hour fitness down the street, and I shot today. Just because I was I want to see what I can do with this body of mine, and I haven't shot in months, and yeah. Okay, some things don't change. Some things are the same. Certain fundamentals that I used back then. So in Seattle, with it raining, it didn't matter if it was raining. I then would say, okay, I want to take the garbage can and make that a defender. So instead of a cone, we didn't have cones. So I use a garbage can. Then I would use the recycling bin. Then I would get some rope that my stepdad had in the garage and tie that up against one of the garbage cans with a broom. That's a defender. So I work and shoot it over them.
Yeah.
put it next to the layup. So then I had to shoot over them. I had to elevate and stuff like that. So I was always trying to visualize, like, just being, like I said, being creative. Like, this is a guy right here. Oh, spin move here, but oh, made the spin move. I got a jump stop, head fake, bounce pass, whatever it is. Crossover, step back, do what I got to do. Okay, how about I play with you, Bryce, and say, let's play one-on-one. You say, yeah, sure. 3 dribbles, that's all you get. Oh man, I don't want to do that. Yeah, because that's a game-like situation. Because you don't sometimes get more than 3 dribbles at the top of the key. And in fact, I ended up having that same exercise while in college. And I'm glad that I kind of learned that early on, going to basketball camps and stuff like that, because it allowed me to have vision of what it would be like at the next level. So then it wasn't so foreign, but at least I had some reps with that. So, you know, it went from shoot 1,000 shots a day to making 1,000 shots a day in the summer. Higher intentions.
Ooh, like let's peel that back.
Right.
Because those are 2 separate things.
Thank you.
Let's practice 1,000 shots. No, let's make 1,000 shots.
Right.
So talk to me on that.
So that's like when Bruce Lee says, fear the man that hit the bag perfect 1,000 times than doing 1,000 kicks. We want to figure out the perfect shot. Let's figure that out first. Let's get the technique right first. Oh, that may take forever. Okay, fine, let's take forever then. Let's figure this out. And now we know exactly what it's supposed to be. Okay, replicate that. It's like a ballerina having to replicate over and over and over again. You think she could just do that one time? No, she had to do it 1,000,000 times. You think the people that do Cirque du Soleil learned it one good time and then went out there? No, for them to do it so effortless, where we're paying hundreds of, if not thousands of dollars to go watch them perform as a professional, they did it with higher intensity and intention. This is even better than maybe the Steph Curry story I was telling you about.
Earlier
so,
today, yeah.
My stepdad, again, was an engineer. So then I became an engineer.
I was going to say, you kind of have an engineering mind from
Right.
what you're articulating here.
So we would go into, like, I would buy these basketball magazines, like East Bay or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And we're dating ourselves,
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say, this conversation's back, blast from the past. Man.
Yeah,
I love it.
So the East Bay magazine had, like, not just the shoes and the jerseys, but they also had different modalities, or I shouldn't even call them modalities. They had a thing called the AccuRim. And the AccuRim was a rim that you would snap on top of the current rim that reduced the diameter. So now every time you make a basket using the AccuRim, it's a perfect shot. Why would I put that on there? Because I want to make swishes, man. I want my mind to realize that I can shoot on a circus type of rim. And if you lay it up, you got to do it perfect. Everything you got to do is perfect, 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 perfect. I would shoot on that thing before games and then go to the gym where we go play at and then murder people because I was already used to doing it. But then I took it a step further, like, I want to be able to jump just like all the taller guys. I want to be able to elevate. I want to be able to run faster. I bought those strength shoes. Do you remember those? The platform shoes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought those. I used to walk to school in them. And I'd take them off and then I'd use them again. And I used that for like every chance I got. Then I would buy like a weight vest to wear to school and do all these other things. Like, I'm using my money on things like this look, I was able to grab the rim, no BS, in 8th grade at 5'4". Why?
5'4".
5'4", 5'5".
Well,
No
I knew for
Yeah.
sure prior to this, you
Yeah.
could dunk at 5'9".
Yeah.
But I didn't realize you
Yeah.
could dunk at 5'4".
Yeah, kid you not, every kid over at South Shore Middle School in Seattle, Washington
believe
saw
it.
me be able to do this. And to be honest, it was nothing surprising because there were other great athletes that came out of this middle school, by the way. But I found it. I found that victory of realizing that as long as I put effort into what I got going on, my genetics plus hard work will yield this.
Yeah.
And it will reduce the gap height-wise, right? Because if I can elevate, it doesn't matter. So I was able to use that mindset of realizing, okay, in basketball, I know how to do this. In bodybuilding, we're all different. So how do I build muscle? What weaknesses, what strengths do I have? And now I just got to put time in the gym. Don't rush anything, but just put time in the gym and see what happens. But be meticulous as to printing out. I used to do this. I used to take a photo of myself, print it out, and then take a pencil and shade certain areas, Photoshop myself draw bigger shoulders, see what that would look like, draw bigger traps, more etched out abs, chest, legs, all this other stuff based on like an anatomy chart or another bodybuilder I saw in the magazine. So I'd take a Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Kevin LeBron, combine them all in one, put it on me. And I said, well, yeah, my skin texture looks like them, kind of roundness, separation, this and that. Okay. And then I look at myself and say, this is what you're going to train. These are your weaknesses. But if you can, yeah, that's how you want to look. So that you focus on that. Don't focus on them as much, but now you know what to look like. And you reference here to see like what kind of training they're doing and give it a try and see if it works and journal it and then make it your own. Same with the diet, same thing. Write down everything, do the food diary, all that stuff, and then make it your own. But then having enough data. I was doing this all for the data to see what didn't work. So the majority of the people that get ready for a bodybuilding show that takes like 15, 16 weeks of dieting, they don't really know how to prepare because they have wasted their off season. So people, they don't even know what foods work.
So you're methodical.
I can see you thinking about it right now, yeah.
Like I'm just connecting all the dots. I mean, you're looking at this from a blueprint perspective, from a vision perspective, but collecting data.
Yeah.
So you can, from
your
a science.
Your off season is required to get you better for your contest prep. So all of your weaker areas should be solved, should be really sorted out by the time you decide to do a contest. Now you're just sharpening everything up. It'd be like now I think about it, that'd be like a martial artist, like having, okay, he had all 52 weeks out of the year and he decided to really train on that roundhouse 16 weeks out from a fight. Really? You had all this time to go figure out your weaknesses, but you chose to just focus on your strengths because it was easy. Or you decided to have your associations just tell you how great you are, and now during pre-contest, now you're pissed because someone's now telling you have to work on this, this, and this.
At that time, it's too late.
Thank you.
I mean, for a guy like you, that's freaking too late.
It's too late by the time you decide that I put my name on a dotted line, and now not only we're 16 weeks out, but now we're 8 weeks out. You're screwed. Because guys like me had greater intentions of recognizing what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at, and being okay with it and saying, I'm okay with this enough to say enough is enough and I'm going to do something about it. And this is what I believe will yield the best positive result. And I'm going to stick to this plan off season. So if that meant if you're playing basketball and you don't have a left hand, then what are you doing after practice? Left hand.
Left hand.
If anything, that ball needs to be on a string. When you wake up, you should be getting yelled at for dribbling the ball in the house because it means that much to you. So analyzing what your strengths and weaknesses are, make your weaknesses your strengths, and I think you solve a lot of problems. We all know our strengths. People that, I mean, come on, we know. But what about the weaknesses? Or do we just want to accentuate the strengths so much that you don't look at these things?
I think it's sometimes human nature, it's ego, right? Not wanting to shine the light on what really needs to be shown.
Absolutely. Well, Mom, I just don't like history. I'm just not good at it. I'm not good at wood shop, Dad, but I'm good at PE and I'm good at English. Why can't that be enough? Because it's not enough. Because all it is just extracting what you did in one area and then applying those same principles to something you don't freaking know. And then having the courage and the perseverance and the strength to go through it over and over and over and over and over again. And then you become more well-rounded, I would say. But yeah, with bodybuilding, I was able to take all those things from growing up and realizing being undersized was actually my greatest ally in bodybuilding.
In what way?
Because if I was over 6 feet tall, I would have to be a little bit bigger, right? If I had longer arms to go play basketball, it wouldn't have worked in bodybuilding. Usually basketball players have long wingspan, this and that. I got T-Rex arms, but this worked. This worked for me. So I also had to see the alchemy within this. Like as much as I was upset that I wasn't playing as much as I felt like I was entitled to, I got to learn the game a lot. So I laugh at it now. I'm like, I probably know the game of basketball better than a majority of my old teammates because while they were playing, I was coaching in my mind. This is what I would have them do. This play is not working. He didn't run this screen correctly. He didn't flare out appropriately.
Same formula, meticulous, methodical, reverse engineer.
Right, this is how they're supposed to run the fast break. The 2 guards supposed to run on the right side. The 3 is supposed to run on the left side. They're supposed to cross over. They set the back screen. He's supposed to peel off. Now they're supposed to go in the box set. He's supposed to weigh before. This guy, the foreman's going to come up to a high ball screen. He's going to go this way, that guy going to go that way. They're going to throw a double screen down here. This guy from way over here is going to come around. We're going to swing the ball, move in the defense side to side, and he's going to get that ball on the perimeter where he likes to shoot it. He's going to turn and knock it down. That's how we do it. And that's how I would process the stuff over and over. So I took that shitty situation and actually made it work for me. So then if one of my friends, teammates were coming on the bench, and I'd be like, bro, like that guy he's overplaying you on the wing, so you should just backdoor cut him. Every time, tell the point guard just to do a hard 3 dribbles towards you, stop, and then you backdoor him, like Princeton backdoor him or something like that, you know, and just see, you know, and I would just say stuff like this, but it wasn't about me, it was about learning and sharing and stuff like that. So I love the game of basketball, as you can see. I mean, really? I love it, but but I love bodybuilding even more because I recognize that was a way for me to harness all of my strength and understand that it is really on me. It really is no one else. I can't. And I'm one of those guys that thrive under pressure because I have the vision of knowing that when I sign up for something, it would be like if I was signing up to box. It would be like signing up to do MMA. You cannot fight because you can get killed. So you have to have great intentions before you step in the ring. That means you have to have the proper amount of training. You need to be extremely disciplined. You have to know that this is not a game, this is freaking for real. They close the cage on you, and that is real. Yeah. It's you and another person, and there's only one person in there that can save you. And it ain't your coach, it's a freaking referee.
It's a referee, yeah.
What if he misses it?
Yes.
And you get hit one more time, you crack your skull, and it's okay. Phil, you're not in that situation, but let's be mindful of the situation that you're in and truly understand the game that you're playing. And the game is bodybuilding. And you have to look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and actually be able to make this make sense for you. And then if there's money involved, which there is, how much money is it that you would like to earn? And ask yourself this question. Should you be compensated for being a professional? If the answer is yes, then how? And how will you get paid while you're not competing because you're only doing that once or twice a year? So that means the travel. That means local and international appearances. Now I have to check my capacity. Do I really know what it takes to travel as a professional? Yes. Why? Because I traveled playing Division I basketball. Yeah. I understand this process. Man, thanks God. I actually got served up a fair one that I know how to operate. Wow, I know what to tell promoters when I need a flight. I need them to fly me on my favorite airline so then I can rack up the points so then I can maybe get upgraded because they're too cheap to buy me first class at the time because I was a rookie or something like that and I haven't proven myself. But if I get on the same airline, I can get that upgrade. If I do the same hotel chain, I'm working it however I can to make it work for me. The money that I would make would not go into more food or even PEDs. It was about recovery. So I thought, if I'm a professional athlete, there's no professional facility for me. Why not just build one myself? Well, you don't have the money for that, but what do you do have the money for? Okay, neuromuscular massage. What is that? Well, it's different than deep tissue. Okay, explain. Figure that out. Active release therapy. Okay, what's that? Go do it. Go try it. What's chiropractic? What's acupuncture? What's infrared sauna therapy? What's hyperbaric therapy? What's cold therapy? What's K laser therapy? What's MLS laser therapy? These are all what's oxygen therapy? I'm learning all this stuff and I implemented all those things into my recovery platform. So when I would hear like people rant and rave over like an Olympic athlete or LeBron James spending all this money on their wellness, I was doing that because I knew that I turned pro very quick. I did my first show April 4th of 2003. I won my pro card 2 years later in that July of 05. And I won my first 2 pro shows the year after that. So it was very quick. Yeah. And the money and the fame was coming in quick too. And I learned I'm on the fast track to success, but shouldn't I be investing in recovery? Because they're not. Because all they're doing is massages and stuff. So I think if I treat myself like an Olympic athlete or an NBA superstar, I'll probably have greater longevity at this.
Speaking of which, longevity, that was the word I was
Yeah.
saying. And Phil, when I look at, study other bodybuilders, that's just not a common kind of mantra that I hear, longevity. And it's something that you have in spades. And all the interviews I've watched of you, the conversation I've had. So what does that mean to you? And I think that's really relevant to our audience who, want to get into a passion-based business where they want to help people with longevity.
Right.
And in your industry, I just feel like that's not a common focal point. So unpack that.
Well, in bodybuilding, we want it tomorrow. We want it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get a small win here and there, and now you just want it. You might be missing, and this goes with business too. There's a reason why you go from the 1st grade to the 12th grade. If they could have allowed you to skip 1 or 2 grades, maybe that wasn't good. Because, yeah, you may figure things out on the scholastic part, but maybe the social aspect you didn't learn. You didn't have enough time with other kids your own age and stuff like that. Yeah, you graduated high school and, like I have a brother, he graduated at 15 and he was Phi Theta Kappa at 16. Smart, right? But he lacked certain skills socially.
I think you said he's autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's gonna be a superpower.
for him it is.
Yeah.
It's super. And
Yeah.
I look over to the door, he's actually 6'9".
Oh, wow.
So he got the tall gene. I got the, I got the muscles and stuff, but he got the tall gene. Different moms, his mom, I guess her family was tall. God just made me this way, but it was okay. But yeah,
It worked out just fine.
it worked out.
Yeah.
But I'm getting sidetracked. We were saying
Longevity.
longevity. So we have to describe what that really means in our business and our life. If we don't really sit down and say, okay, Phil, so you just turned pro in bodybuilding, you're 25 years young, how long would you really like to do this? Normally you would look at the oldest competitor and kind of go backwards. And for me, I was like, I can't see myself doing this past a certain, like I'm thinking 40 years old, like that's kind of old. And, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, I think I did my last show at 40. So
40.
yeah. So, it kind of is very interesting. But yeah, you talk about longevity, that means that you have to be mindful of the car that you're driving. So if I think of myself as a certain classic or exotic vehicle, that means I have to be very mindful of the parts involved that make this car go. I can't treat it poorly. I can't drive it, like raggedy and stuff. I gotta check, I gotta do the perform maintenance on this car.
Oh, yeah.
I really have to, check the tires, check the gauges, check the fluids, check all this other stuff. That means I got to check my blood work. If I got a twinge somewhere, maybe I spend the money on an MRI. Maybe I make enough money to where I shouldn't have to worry about getting health insurance, number 1. Maybe I should also figure out a way to get life insurance, number 2. Maybe I should use my image and likeness and ask some questions to business professionals that work in insurance and annuities and stuff like that, and ask them, hey man, I don't really know anything about tax preparation. I don't want to use H&R Block. Do you know a person that can help me out? I'm just a professional athlete trying to, make it happen. Oh, sure. Utilizing the power that you already have and being unafraid to ask questions, that'll increase your longevity, knowing where your money's going, having a budget, recognizing that if you do want to compete for this many years, Phil, that means you need to earn a certain amount of money. And then instead of buying Jordans and other things, you need to make sure that you have money to go stretch you to the end of your life. And if you can't answer that today, then that means you need to make a plan for tomorrow. So those were questions that I had to have right away. And it doesn't mean that I didn't screw around and buy the cars or the things, but I still had a plan on how it would make me successful and feel comfortable and be able to provide for others. And health-wise longevity, I always wanted to make sure that I was doing blood work, so I had data to quantify why I'm doing what I'm doing. If there is an issue, like I remember seeing blood work during the time where I was having, I had intestinal strangulation and I was bleeding through my colon through a hernia that I had 3 hernias, here and here. So I had all this going on, and my blood work was showing that my AST and ALT levels, along with my hematocrit and hemoglobin, were off. Not elevated though, but they were low. And I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Normally at this rate, based on the blood work from before, why is it low? Let me take more medication. Let me do this, not increasing. And that's when I realized, after I had surgery, when they told my wife, oh yeah, glad he came in. He had intestinal strangulation. He had a bowel obstruction. He was going to have a bowel obstruction, like all this other stuff. And he was bleeding through his colon, meaning that his body wasn't providing the basic nutrients, the blood, to other organs appropriately. So if it's not happening, that affected the hemoglobin, the hematocrit, and this is why he was taking pills or this and that. And they weren't absorbing, and your numbers would normally be elevated, but they weren't because they weren't digesting and all this other shit. Wow, man, that's really cool. So if I can fix that, I can have more longevity, right? Holy smokes. Maybe that means that off season I don't eat the same. Maybe off season that means I do a little bit more cardio, not being so consumed about how big I am and worried about what other people have to say about me because I'm Mr. Olympia and I'm supposed to be big and the body dysmorphia and all this other stuff. And it's like,
oh man, I never even thought of that feedback that you had.
Yeah. So if you're a champion bodybuilder and let's say another person, so here's how this works. Your preseason or your like right after a show, you're depleted as all heck. Yeah, you look great, but maybe like a month or two later, like, you're soft, and you're now going to a gym where someone else is training for a show and the general public doesn't know who's the pro. That would make you feel weird.
Oh, clearly.
Because it's not a mainstream sport, so it's not like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not, So, and this has all about what they see. So as a pro, this is where I'm tying up this part where people want it today, if not yesterday, and then they have the body dysmorphia that kicks in, and that's when they are taking too many chances to want it so fast now that they don't realize like you can't high rev this engine for that long. The engine will blow. You have to know what gears and when to shift and when to downshift and when to cool it. I can break this down in so many other ways. It's like having if you race cars and you have a fuel pump, some fuel pumps over a certain horsepower will only be for race. That means it's just going a straight line and coming back. So after running, if you were to drive that car for more or less, say 30 minutes at a certain RPM or whatever, it'll shut off. Because it was not designed to go be a touring car. It was designed to just go back and forth and rest. We have to treat our bodies like this. What kind of race car am I? Man, I'm just trying to go through this extreme, bodybuilding stuff. That means after the show's over, I need to have like a 2-3 month break. Totally. I need to map this out. I need to know that my money's okay, that my health is good, and if not, how I can repair this. I have to make sure that my family's okay. I have to see the future with sponsorships. I was doing my own contracts back then. So I would hire legal counsel to not negotiate really, but to, do the legal stuff. Yeah. So I was always minding my business, minding my body, minding my health, and making it so that my trainer, Hani, he had better info. Because I can make my coach a lot better if I give him more data.
Sure.
Not waste his time.
Sure.
And now we can focus on other shit. So
he doesn't have to guess work
and having him stressed out because I'm not doing the work.
Right.
We can't even talk about longevity because I can't even get through these little processes. So longevity has always been the key, and then going to winning 7 Olympias, having surgery right after, going for number 8, losing, experiencing that part.
What was that like?
Oh, it was shit, man.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
It was the worst because you're at the point where people are actually tired of seeing you win so much.
Yeah.
You're getting the Tom Brady effect is like full gear.
Yeah.
I still collectively feel like I still won based on the criteria that I was always provided, and always will say like, just because I may have a glaring weakness, the other person had some too, but I guess mine was just so big. It was like I want to discredit him because he's also no longer here. But the way I look at it, I'm like, so that's like having a Ferrari and it got like a ding on the windshield and maybe like a rashed out tire rim, and you don't like it no more compared to let's say a Mercedes AMG that has no flaws at all. So you would rather drive that over the Ferrari still. And there's people that will say, yeah. So that's how I processed it. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Right.
But that's just how I processed it. And I was like, man, yeah, I wasn't at my best, but I figured like it was good enough. Well, you can't change it. They can't overturn it. It's not one of those flag on a play. There's a challenge. There's none of that. Now you have to know what it feels like to lose. And that eruption from the crowd was deafening. because he had done something no one had thought was possible, or at least maybe, you know, his own fans probably had hoped, but to see it happen is one other thing. And I had to own it. I had to feel it. I had to know what it felt like to hear that. I didn't know what it felt like to not experiencing holding a second place medal around my neck, which, to be quite honest, I don't even know where the fuck that thing is.
Winner's freaking mentality.
I don't really know what it is, dude. I think I just found like when we moved to Florida, I found I have 2 second places at the Arnold Classic and little medals and stuff. And, you know, with real silver, you know, it, was it oxidizes or whatever, you had to clean it. So I was like, what's this? So I get a jewelry rag and I was like, oh, that's second place at the Arnold. Like, oh, that's, and my wife Cherie was like, Phil, serious? And I was like, second place. Like, who gives a shit? No one's gonna remember second place. But yeah, that evening felt terrible. Yeah. You know, but I needed to know what it felt like because I was serving out L's to people for over a decade. Yeah. You know what I mean? I gotta know. Hey, I got
taste your own medicine.
Yeah, I gotta feel it. But I mean, that fall was a lot different because they weren't a champion. I was. It hurt like hell, but I needed to sit with it and to even see how family, how friends respond to stuff like that. Some people don't know what to say to you, so they avoid you. Some people say too much and you don't want anything to do with them. Some, you know, I went from having like the entourage to having only less than 10 people in my hotel room after I lost. So imagine when you're winning, you're having like literally like 100 people with you to go to the nightclubs and all this other stuff, and you're paying for everything, or you're getting it comped in Vegas. So not for myself, but for them. To now you lose. And I decided I didn't want to do a club experience because I just wanted to chill.
Yeah, man.
I was like, man, I'm getting older. I don't really, maybe I'll go do that the next night. But tonight, I lose. No one shows up. Damn, this is what winning's like. This is what losing's like. Holy shit. Huh, interesting. Well, I'm going to remember who's in here because that matters.
Totally.
Don't get mad at the people who aren't here.
Totally.
Remember the people who are.
Amen.
Focus on that. Focus on them. Thank them. Be appreciative. Be in gratitude. And
good on you, man.
So,
good on you.
And then I, you know, made sure I did my Instagram post to show respect to the champion. And then that next day I did a press conference, and I told him, I was like, hey man, you probably haven't slept. I'm just reading right through him. I said, you probably haven't slept. I said, what you should realize is that for the next 2 days, you probably won't sleep very much.
You're just using your own experience.
Yeah. I said, and he's like, yeah, you're right. And I said, make sure you weigh that thing when you get home, because the Olympia trophy, the statue itself, on all 4 corners, it has different champions' names on them. I said, so now your name's on this, so it'll always be here. So good for you. Weigh it when you get home. It's around 50 pounds. And just those little nerdy little things to let them know, like, hey, there's no hard feelings or anything. I want my shit back. Don't get me wrong. But you have to pay credit where it's due. This is a sport where it's judged objectively, subjectively, however you want to call it. But and I always say this, it's never political when you win, so why is it when you lose? So I had that process. And then in 2020, I did the Olympia, and I was like, okay, it almost looks like a full circle to me, because I did my first Olympia in 2008, placed 3rd, won a lot in between.
You placed 2nd in 2010, correct?
And 2nd in 2010.
And then 11 to 7.
And then 7,
yeah.
Then got 2nd. Oh, wow, now we're really deep. Ooh, you just helped me with something. So I had a 3rd place, a 5th place. We'll throw out the 5th place of 09.
Okay.
3rd place, 5th place, 2nd place, 1st, 2nd, and then 3rd. 3rd, close the circle. And now it's full-time entrepreneurship, full-time doing these podcasts, full-time pouring into other people, doing speaking engagements, and utilizing all of the whys in the road that have gotten me here to promote wellness. Because a lot of people are lacking the mental fortitude, but also the key word of stamina. I know endurance gets used a lot, but stamina is, in my opinion, they're synonymous to a degree, I think, but I just like the word stamina.
And what's the difference? Because I've heard you talk about this many times over, which again is another word not typically used here.
It just sounds stronger.
Yeah.
It just sounds stronger, man.
Yeah.
Endurance. Well, stamina is recognizing certain capacity. And endurance is to it. I guess we're going to find someone online that says, oh, the Webster's Dictionary. But the way I look at it, I just like the word stamina. I never really use endurance. Yeah, I've endured a lot, but that stamina, man, like that's the burning of the chest when you're like when B was talking about doing that damn marathon. Mm-hmm. Stamina is recognizing like you will have performance anxiety even in the bedroom because your lack of stamina. You know what I'm saying? So these things are tested. That's an important aspect. You can have peak performance, but for how long? Because you don't have any freaking stamina, dude. So you just go, whoop, and then boom.
Done.
You're done. Just like a stock. Bam, bam. And you don't know how to recover because you don't have the stamina to get back up and go at it again. You ran out. You have no capacity left. So for me, I always had to recognize, what's my capacity? How much in this cup? Not that much. That means I need to fill it up. Okay, how are you able to do that? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are your vices to get you back in the game and make sense of it? And will that get you back in the game for the long run? Or is that just a short fix? And make sense out of it, because maybe the short fix is good for the short fix, but just know what it is. Don't give yourself a false sense of security.
And know what you're signing up for.
And know what you're signing up for, because look, in professional bodybuilding, you have to know. And I think a lot of people are casually dabbling in the sport of bodybuilding and don't even know it, being an influencer and stuff like that. They could be playing with real fire because they're giving themselves body dysmorphia without even knowing it. And that's a different type of drug, so to speak. You know, like you don't want to create your own mental health, because even with Instagram, think about how many times if Instagram is like, if it's not loading and it's down for the day, how many people freak out?
Oh, dude, it happened like last year for like 4 hours, and it just freaking went.
And they don't know how to react.
Yeah.
They don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
They know how to react versus respond. They should be responding by saying, well, this is an extra 4 hours. I can go read a book or go for a walk or do something else. Oh, I can't, like, what am I gonna do? I think to myself a lot, I say, thank God that I knew what it felt like to go through an era before social media. Because how did people learn about one another? They wrote about them. So even though social media is king, my mission now is to do stuff for yourself and for others that people will then write about. That will take the time and do a video about you to have the rippling effect, like our conversation right here, create such good value that even someone will watch this and then do a review of it. That's powerful. Because everybody ain't gonna write a book review. Maybe they're lazy, maybe they just don't know how, maybe they don't care. So I think of longevity that way too, of saying, if you pour into yourself enough to learn more about yourself, to understand your story, the whys in the road, how you made mistakes, how you fell flat on your face, how you disrespected yourself, because you had these affirmations that you did on January 1st every freaking year, and you didn't, here we are, Q4.
Doing the same thing over and over again.
You're a liar. You're a liar. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Say the same shit, blame the same person. So I look at longevity as a constant evolution of me. And I would refuse to be average in anything I set my eyes out on. I refuse to be average. And if I say I'm gonna do something, that means I have to do it. And that's scary, because I'm gonna be 10-time Mr. Olympia. People hated that.
Oh yeah.
Which is weird, because when you're a kid and someone asks you what you want to be when you grow up and you tell them, they don't think it's weird.
They're gonna cheer.
So what does that mean as an adult? That means as an adult, people don't care to see you succeed. All right, let's store that. That means the bullies tell you the truth too. They tell you what they see. Indirectly, they're telling you, yeah, man, go for it. But we're gonna hate you every step of the way. We may even throw a banana peel. You know what I'm saying? We may even talk shit about you. We may spread some rumors about you. We may work with the opposition after we just had dinner with you. All these things happen to me. But the long game is about understanding that, yeah, whoa, cool, man, whoa, cool, because now I know. I thought I was doing bodybuilding, but I'm really playing politics. I'm really playing this, and, you know, I'm playing all these different, I just thought I was going to work every day. It's like, no, man, you have to know how to communicate with people that you may end up being the boss of. So you got to treat people nice on the way in and on the way out. You got to know, like, kids get recruited to colleges and now even to sports organizations, and they ask the janitors of the universities they worked at, how was Bryce? Was he nice to you? They're asking the freaking janitor with certain people, the teachers, the faculty. So if you want longevity, it's like you have to lead with greater intentions. You have to be the person that has a moral code that won't be broken when you get tired and you get fatigued and you lack stamina. Because everybody, and then, here's the best part. Expect the cameras. Expect them. That's why I love athletics, right? Because you learn at an early age that you don't just represent yourself, you represent the team, your teammates at school and stuff like that. You also do that in your organization too, that you work for. Even if you own the organization, you still, it's the organization first. That's why you created it.
Sure.
Because you wanted to have something bigger than you that could provide things for others, services, products, people.
Especially if you have any desire for longevity.
Right, so if you want the longevity, how can I scale a business if I don't know who I am and I don't know how to pour into people? I'm not really a leader. I'm the first one in, I'm not even the first one in the doors, and I'm the first one to leave. But I want them, I'm just a dictator then. Maybe I just got gifted this money then to start this business. Maybe I just got lucky. Maybe, or how about I walk shoulder to shoulder with my people? Maybe I let them know and communicate effectively of that, hey guys, like, I really appreciate each and every one of you, and we're going into the last quarter of the year, and we have a lot of goals, and it's going to suck because some of our key players had to be let go. That means that there's 3 roster spots open, but not for this quarter, for next year. But what that means is you all have these tasks. You sign up for these tasks, you put yourself in position to win as a team and to get those roster spots. And if you don't do them, you're probably going to get booted too, because this is what I need for the team to succeed. And I'm going to be here to visit with you weekly to make sure that if there's questions, I'm available. My assistant will schedule the meeting, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. That's how you that's leadership, man. They're just like, oh, well, sorry, Bryce. So sucks for you. Quota just went up and half your sales force is gone. Good luck, man. Later, I'm going golf.
Yeah.
It's a little different, man.
Totally.
And I know that there's businesses that operate that way too, but because they're eliminating. Because I get it, because they're eliminating certain emotions, and they're just, I get that part too, but that's not for everyone.
And there's also a time and place for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the intentions have to be pure. You have to think of like, what am I growing, and who am I growing with? Because I don't want to grow with some people that come on, Bryce, like you run a business. There's certain people that you will hire that the likelihood of them staying past 2 years is
not strong.
It's not strong.
Totally.
And maybe they said everything perfect on the interview. Maybe they did for the first 60 days, 90 days, 120, 180. And then after a year, you're like doing performance and you're like, man, you had a really bad fallout after July, man, what happened? You know what, better yet, I don't even want to know. No bonus for you. Sorry, but not sorry, because this is how we work. Are you going to cry about it? Well, guess what? You have a decision to make. Either A, you can actually fall in line and actually do your job, or B, you can quit right now and we'll go replace you though. Mm-hmm. So you want a severance right now today, or you want to join the team and actually help your teammates? Let's see what they say. I mean, I'm not even running a business, but that's how I'd run it, because I'm not here to mess up the other families' livelihoods because of one individual or group that decide that whatever they're going on in life, which is valid, like people have deaths or hardship, but when you sign up for certain things, you got to deal with it, man, because there's other people that know how. And that's where, again, the competitive spirit must, just really step up and step out. And I still, to this day, I always think, like, if you're leading with, love for yourself, and you love what you do, or at least you try to fake it. I love these lima beans. I love them, but I love the result too. You
And
have fun.
eventually, if you love the results, you'll eventually like the lima beans.
Yeah, you have to love the process. I mean, you think I loved all the cardio I did? No, hell no. But then, it's funny. You start loving the progress, though, of doing the right thing. You start recognizing, oh, man, Bryce, what if we gamify the step now? Well, how do you gamify that? Well, damn, I'm giving everybody the secrets, man. So do 40 minutes of cardio on the step mill. Do it your way. Then do it without leaning over on the step mill that we see people doing.
Just like how all dudes do that. No, I shouldn't say all. I don't like.
They're like hunched over like this.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Imagine your spine. Imagine your neck. You're providing that's not healthy.
Sure.
So let's ask ourselves, does that make sense? Does that look painful? Yeah, but I'm struggling on this. If I was in the military, I couldn't hunch over like that. I'd have to be walking with the gun over my head, the rifle over my head. I want to be the guy that's in front, holding the rifle over my head, singing the songs. That's how I think of it. And I'm just a bodybuilder. I thought, man, instead of hugging this thing, how about I stand up like a man and actually walk on this thing? Not hunch over on it. Maybe I have to go slower, but I can do it perfect. Because I can do it perfect here. And once I get the repetitions, now I can increase the speed. But neurologically, my body doesn't even know how to do things perfect yet.
Mm-hmm. So why are you going to add load if you can't even like?
Thank you.
I mean, there's so many applications.
You know what I'm saying? With
To
business, right?
To fitness, to
yeah,
life,
like maybe an employee just got lucky by being with the company at a time of his premier growth, where just the common shit that they're doing, they're getting bonused. But let them actually have to suffer through a depression, a recession. How great are they then? Because I guarantee you, we can all agree, there's still companies that, even in sales, that still are profitable during a pandemic. I told myself, I was like, I guarantee you, there's companies that are like licking their chops saying like, oh yeah, these fools over here are whining and bitching because of the lockdowns. Yeah, we're not gonna make as much money, but maybe I'm making all my employees read 10 books this year.
The off season.
Right.
That's like the off season mentality.
Maybe I'm sending, as an owner of this company, yeah, we're suffering. But I can buy them an audio book and an ebook, or I can mail them a hard copy of this person, and we're gonna get on this Zoom, FaceTime or whatever, and we're just gonna do book reading. Because I'm building people with better skills. And I'm telling them, if they invested their time and their effort into this, once this lockdown is up, we're gonna be ahead. Mm-hmm. So that's how I look at this stuff, for the longevity. And I guarantee you there's businesses that did that. There was entrepreneurs that did that. They invested in themselves instead of binging on Netflix. I remember so many of my friends hitting me up about freaking Netflix. It was crazy. Like, did you watch this? Did you watch that? I was like, nah, not really. Me and my wife, like, we bought some books, and she bought her, I bought mine. We read, we came and had something to talk at the dinner table about what we learned. Maybe in 5 years, we'll see who did the real work, or at least the real work on themselves. Why so many people get divorces during that time? They didn't even know who they're laying in bed with. Then they have the distractions of job and now they have over consumptions of drugs and alcohol, because they definitely allowed that to happen. But you didn't think that would be like, wait a minute, no one forced you to do it either. No one forced you to go to the liquor store, and you didn't even make sense of it. Like, wow, wait a minute. So I can't go outside past 10 o'clock, but I can go to the liquor store and go grab beers and this and that and the other. Maybe I shouldn't do that, because I honor my body and my mind and my spirit, and I don't want to create some habits that don't serve me to my major goal. But I'm not going to work, man. They gave me my money anyway. You're not going to be stuck here forever, you dummy. Like, what are you doing? And don't you want to be competitive with the other people? Don't you want to, like, extend the lead? If you're already ahead of your coworkers or people in your industry,
it's not time to take the foot off the gas.
Right. You ride it.
Let's go.
You double, triple, quadruple down.
You extend that gap.
You extend the gap like Usain Bolt or Michael Phelps, man. You extend it. And doesn't that feel good, where you could be like running and it looks great when Bolt does
just
this.
like
you like laugh. Yeah. It's dope, man. But you're
dude.
not putting yourself in a position to do it, because you won't do the work.
Yeah.
And you won't do the work when no one's watching. So it's all of those things. Yeah.
All right, Phil, my last kind of, meat and potatoes topic, I want to talk about transition.
Yep.
Because our audience is in transition. They're, in their 9 to 5, they know there's something more, but they're just scared and hesitant, which is human nature. So I want to talk about, your exit from professional bodybuilding. What was that like? How would that transition, the good, the bad, the ugly? And also too, from an identity perspective, I'm looking at you. I mean, you mentioned Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady's the GOAT, right? And then he transitions out, like there's an identity. Dude, you've had an identity, the fucking champ for this long. When you transition out, like you're going into uncharted territory. So what does that look like to you?
Oh, I mean, I'll be quite honest. It was hell. Flat out. To sit with it, and then, I mean, at the same time, I was filming a documentary, so you have a lot of time to reflect, and I'm still having those moments of saying, "Wow, like this year, people are getting ready for Olympia. I'm not out there." So you go through that part of like, man, it feels good to be out there, and then when you go watch it, it feels freaking weird. So when I was at the Olympia last year, I was actually doing the live commentary.
You were.
I was very thankful because I was still involved in a major way, and I played it to in my mind, you're still in it. And it's not about you though. It's about your perspective from your status and to helping provide entertainment and information to the common viewer, the new viewer, the older viewer. You give them Phil Heath's eyes on this show. No one else can do that. So make it about them. Provide them that, like when Tony Romo did commentary, or like Elon or Peyton, they're like Tony Romo, like he would talk about the play before it happened.
Yeah.
It was sick. You're like,
he understood the game.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't, really understand bodybuilding until someone like myself actually comes out and has no agenda whatsoever, because I'm comfortable in my own skin and knowing that, man, I did all that. What they're trying to do, I've already done. So I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to bash another guy to make myself look good. I've already got Sandals to prove that I'm better. What I get to do now is be a fan of the sport and actually talk about it and help other people understand the sport that I love. And that's how I walk into it. So transitioning away, I mean, it's tough because currently I don't train often. And part of me is openly saying this because when I do, my body responds as if I'm competing again. It is the most bizarre.
Why is that?
I guess my cells over the course of almost 20 years know. Like for instance, in 2019, I didn't do the Olympia. If my wife was sitting right here, she would tell you the story. I'm literally just deciding to eat clean just because it's summertime and I just wanted to eat, healthy and train.
Yeah.
And I had just had, like after the 2018 Olympia, I had surgery again, but they had me 6 months of no activity whatsoever, which sucked. So the minute I had the chance to go work out, I was like, oh man, I'm in there. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, and then my body's like, yeah, it's time. Like, let's go. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm actually getting lean. I need to back off. So I realized that my time away from competing since 2020, my body has definitely learned that if Phil decides to eat healthy and train 5-6 days a week for a month, which I have not done in 3 years, he's gonna look like he's getting ready for something. And part of me wants to change that narrative and just say, Phil, just go train, just go do it. But then I started adding in different types of training. I started boxing for a little bit. I started doing Pilates. I'm like, let's try all these different things to see what I like, to keep my mind active away from competing. But if I was stuck in a gym that I owned, like I didn't own the gym in Colorado, but I had keys to it. If I was stuck in the gym for 12 months, I mean, yeah, I probably would look like I'm getting ready for an Olympia and probably could win the damn thing. But I also have to ask myself, does that serve the long game that I have in my mind? So when you talk about transition, it's very hard when you know that your best days are still here, but there's so much more here. And you can't do both. if I could do both, I would do both. So I think that's the hardest spot, is that how many lives can I influence based on all the information that I've acquired, all the wisdom, all the shit that has occurred while I still was a champion, right? And I can pour more into people doing the self-work right now, not competing, traveling around, doing, this, doing meet and greets, doing seminars, masterminds, this and that. I can reach more people to help them more than competing. Competing is only for a small group of people. And granted, I do garner the respect from others because of what I've done.
Really?
And it's an inspirational thing. But I mean, it almost would seem like I have more to prove. I don't really think I have more to prove when your favorite bodybuilder is probably Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm tight with him. And unlike Arnold, no disrespect to him because I love the guy, I did a 2-day Mr. Olympia contest. That is freaking hard. To deplete and do a 2-evening show, that is tough, man. 1 day of doing a prejudging at noon and a night show at 7, that is easy as fuck. If the Olympia was like 1 day, I'd probably say, maybe one more. But 2 days, that takes a...
When did it transition?
I'm sorry?
When did it transition? Because I guess I'm reading through between the lines. When Arnold did it, it was a 1-day show.
Oh, that was 2006.
The transition to 2-day.
And that was the year Ronnie Coleman lost, going for number 9. And I know it sucked for him because, I mean, he's Ronnie Coleman, he's 8-time Mr. Olympia, but I personally felt like he's the first, so he didn't know probably how to peak for 2 days. That's hard because you never done it. Jay Cutler, on the other hand, knew, hey, I can manage to look 90% for 2 days, not 180 the next day or 80 and 100 the next day. 90 and 90 will get it done. Mm-hmm. Ronnie wasn't 90 and 90. Ronnie was maybe 80 and 95. Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough. So that was around the time he started getting injured. So, winning, like Tim Grover says, winning don't give a shit. It's going to go to whoever she wants to go to bed with. So it didn't work out for Ronnie that day. But I learned right away. I'm like, dude, like you're going to win these Olympias and you have to be capable of peaking or at least fixing the problem with your coach Friday and Saturday night. That's tough. It's just tough. It's wild. And you're going against the best in the world. Majority of them have done it longer than me too. So there's an experience factor that they have that they get to bring into the conversation as well. So I can't slip. My worst day in the gym is probably going to be their best day in the gym. So that's how I would process it. So that means no bad days. So my mind, I had to trick it and say like, yeah, this sucks, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's the discipline, right? I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm going to do it great. I feel like walking out of the gym, but I'm going to come back and say, you know what? That's some bitch shit. Like, I'm not doing that. Phil, you're the best in the world, man.
There you are.
You're the best in the world, dude. And I would have these talks. What does the best in the world do?
Dude, that's wild.
You're the best in the world, Phil. You got your pictures up in the gym. Like your friend put a mural of you in the gym. Got your own parking space. You got everything. What are you talking about? You got all the best sponsors. You have everything. You get to travel the world. You met people. Like you inspire millions. Mm-hmm. What more do you want? You would have died to have that as a basketball player. Cool. You would have died if you'd have known that like at 22 years old that you're going to become this. You would be like, man, fuck basketball. I don't care.
Let's go.
So now that you have it, why are you allowing? And then it would be like, shut up, let's go. Shut up, let's go. So I could flip the switch at any given moment in time. I gave myself any carrot that I needed. I want to take my girl on a vacation. Well, better win then, Oh, I want to buy that car. Better win then. Because you're going to get the appearance money to go pay for that. You're going to get the sponsorship that can pay for that. You're going to get the sponsorship to pay for your long game. Yeah. Or your screw ups. But you better win. So when it comes to transition, it was just recognizing like the unknown. And that's, like I said, I mean, that was very, very painful. Not having that applause the same way, the applause will be different.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
Well, the applause now doesn't come from a bodybuilding stage. It comes from
public speaking stage.
Yep.
So it's different, but it's similar, but not the same, right? But I get to be more of me. My body of work was a body of art on stage, displayed in the most vulnerable state, wearing those little tiny posing trunks. So that was tough, but that was only tough because I made it tough, right? And yeah, the physical, look, like, I mean, it is tough. It's not for everybody. To be dehydrated for 48 hours and all this other stuff, having to eat 6 meals to 8 meals per day while maybe only drinking a full cup of water, that's tough.
Dude.
That's not easy. People think it's easy. Try it. It's the worst. It's the shittiest, like the peak week is terrible. But the result is everything. Winning is everything, and I hate to freaking lose. I can't stand it. So not having the ability of moving my body and doing that and saying that there's more and convincing myself, Phil, there's more to you than that. You're doing yourself a disservice only going for what you know. Is that all you are? Because if that's all you are, then that's all you are. Then be that. But don't act like you want to be a public speaker. Don't act like you want to coach people. Don't act like you don't want to do all these other businesses, being an executive or a brand ambassador. Don't act like that don't matter. But if it does matter, give that 5% of your energy. Just 5. Which means I still have choices. If I ever want to resume competing, I still give myself a chance. Tom Brady retired twice.
Yeah.
So I could say, you know what, 2024, I'm doing a fucking Olympia, or 2024, I'm doing an Arnold Classic, or whatever it is. But I give myself a chance, but I want to build this. And what's great is that I'm in a fabulous relationship with my best friend, happens to be my wife, and we get to build stuff together. So I want to do that too. Like building a bodybuilding thing, like that was great. But how can I build the family? How can I prove to the next Mr. Olympia that this is supposed to springboard you to this? So then I can help them with their transition, because that is the ticket right there. I could easily now look at a person who probably should retire from the sport and say, don't worry about it, you can do this. And they'll say, well, how do you know? I said, because I freaking did it. But I have to be like the guinea pig. I have to be the person that and I'm not the first person. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the first person. You got other entrepreneurs like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman, they have supplement companies and stuff like that. But I'm not starting with a supplement company to go be an entrepreneur. I'm doing other things. I can always do that and probably will, wink, right? But for now, this is what I really love. As you can see, I love to talk, I love to interact, I love to meet with people, and that's something that people, when they see me, they're not expecting.
No.
So I love that.
Not
I
at
came
all.
out today like this because I knew, because I wanted data.
Holy smokes.
I wanted data.
It opened my eyes. I was like, whoa.
And let's be real, I'm competitive too.
Hell yeah.
What did Pedro say to me last year at the High Performance Summit? He said, Phil, you're walking in with the Ed Milets, the Tim Grovers, me, Frisella, like those are your competition. All right. They've been doing it for 20 plus years. And I love them all. But saying that, he had the grin that I have when I go against people in bodybuilding. Yeah, Phil. But I'm gonna be competitive too, Phil. I'm gonna be a better speaker than you. And I'll help you, but I'm still gonna be me. And I expect Pedro, I expect Tim, I expect Ed, I expect the John C. Maxwell, I expect the Tony Robbins, Lewis Howes, all these guys to be fantastic. But I'm gonna be me. And I know my superpowers. And I know that ain't no one gonna outflex me. So that's not a threat or anything. That's just having fun and giving the world something different.
Yeah.
Because I can come from an athletic background and let me get some wins in this entrepreneur space. Ooh. Let me get some big wins. Let me get my first exit from a company. Ooh, now I can, wait a minute. Now I can talk to other professional athletes. They may not made the millions on millions. Maybe they lost it. I can be like, man, no, come over here. This is what you do. This is what you do. So this is not just about Phil Heath. This is about my legacy. This is about the fact that I get an opportunity to learn things, to gather reps here, and to pour into myself as well as others, and to do it authentically.
And that legacy, Phil, what do you want that to be? Because right now, you pull it up on Google, professional bodybuilder, 7-time Mr. Olympia. As your life continues, Kind of like thinking Kobe Bryant, right? He had to.
I have to have, like, maybe not like that, but so the way I envision it now, I have to have a series of best-selling books. I have to write my first one that leads into the second and the third. I'm already been compiling for the first one, but the first one has to lead into the second and the third one. There's a trilogy. I love numbers, right? So I have to be able to say within a lifetime, I have to have at least written 7, 8 books, because I'm still like transitioning. That's a book. The prequel to becoming Mr. Olympia is a book. The Mr. Olympia stuff altogether is definitely a book. Definitely a book.
Man.
That could be a few.
It's like a trilogy right
right? So I should take the limiter off
Yep.
and say, I want to write books. I want to have the bestsellers. I want to be competitive in this space, and I want to then use my social credit of knowing people that are on major television networks and saying, yeah, man, we grew up together, man. Like, I want to get an interview. Can we do that? You know, like there's legitimate friends of mine that are in that field that I'm like, wow, like I never asked for anything, but hey, it would be great to have that opportunity, because it's not just about me, it's about helping other people. But yeah, writing books, working with kids, obviously coaching online, talking to sports teams, but I also have one big freaking goal. I follow Les Brown. And what I love about him is that he had speeches in stadiums. And there's one online, I can't remember where it was, but he was at a conference. And it looked like there was like 50,000 people in this, you know. That's what I want. I want to be in like an arena outside where it's a sold out arena, a sold out stadium. I mean, picture like, you got the US Open, right? So that type of center court stadium speaking, and everybody's happy. Everybody's engaged. Everybody's like, Phil Heath, help me. I'm going here to meet with him and this person. But when he's up there, he's bringing it. And he's bringing himself. And my legacy is about my nickname, The Gift. And I want to give. So that's what I'm most passionate about is like my dream is to say I want to reach over 1 billion people.
The B.
With a B. But in person, oh my gosh, I think of venues outside, you know, I think of like indoor stuff like Cowboy Stadium. I think of, you know, outdoor arenas like my hometown where the Mariners play or the Seahawks play. I think of in Denver at, I don't know what the hell they call it now. It used to be Mile High Stadium and Vesco or whatever it is now, but like stadiums. I think of the new Sphere in Vegas. I think of speaking at places where people come to get hope and find themselves and know who the hell they are when they walk out, but not lose who they are in the process of getting things done. Because I don't want people to get halfway through and oh, they get stuck again and now they have to go back to square one and take my course again. I want them to walk out saying, no, man, Phil gave me the tools, bro. He gave me the tools and yeah, I paid him for it, you know what I'm saying? But it was well worth it. And you know what? Maybe I do take it again because I was just so happy about it. I was so happy about getting continuous learning. And it enforces me to learn. So I'm the one that wants to learn. I follow all of these badass speakers. I follow Tony Robbins. I understand Life Force. I understand, like, he and I would get along great because I think of every modality possible to actually yield positive growth in your body and your mind. And now I'm thinking about like the neuroscience. Just the other day, I was reading an article and I was like, it was talking about like the 7 chakras. And it's like, well, okay, 7 chakras. How do we even get to this? Like, how do we get all 7? Like, if there's a way to do that, like we would probably be floating around and this and that. But that means that someone did. Why do we only have two like the double helix on the DNA strand, but yet there's 7 chakras? Wouldn't they have 7 helix? But we only got 2. We only have the 2 bottom ones. What about the other ones? Huh. That's a deeper conversation, right? But these are the questions that I have. I'm like, man, like, but what if I could, it's like, what if I could achieve that? That means I'm more competitive than everybody. Then I can learn and I
Bringing
can
it
help.
back, baby.
And you know, but yeah, I have so many dreams, and you know, like again, I can go on and on, but I'm very thankful for this opportunity to visit with you. You hearing me yap my tater trap, as my stepdad would say. It's
been great.
Run my mouth. But I hope that it has been of value. But I know that all I want to do is provide value for people. I want them to champion through life. I want them to be real with themselves, not put themselves down to the point where they cannot move. I want them to hold themselves accountable and watch their words. So instead of putting yourself down and then sulk, acknowledge where you're at right in the moment and ask yourself, do you want to keep going? And if the answer is no, then go in a deeper conversation with a pen and paper and write down why you don't want to do this no more. And write it out. And then ask yourself, does that make sense? And then ask yourself, what if that didn't exist? Where would you be? And who you can help? That would prevent, if I would have done that, that would have prevented a young Phil Heath forever wanting to take his own life because he wasn't getting what he wanted in basketball.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So when I speak now and forever, I speak to different versions of me previously, because I know if I can help those, the 13, the 15, the 18, the 21, 23, the 27, the 30, 34, 30, 38 Phil Heath. Ooh, man.
Oh yeah.
Those are powerful, because I was still winning in life in other areas.
Oh yeah.
But like I said out there, you know, we're talking about hollow victories too. Like, you may be winning in here, but you're empty over here. Oh, but there's no balance. Oh shit. Guess what, man? There ain't.
Yeah, there's none.
It's a teeter-totter. One goes up, and then you just have to realize, like, when I'm at home, I'm at home. Work ain't at home. When I'm at work, I ain't at home.
Right.
When I'm in the gym, I'm in the gym. I'm not at work.
When with your girl, you're with your girl.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's a scale. Like, it's going back and forth, and then you give effort on everything. When you're with your wife and kids, you're there. It's like I tell people, you get ready for a bodybuilding show. It's like, after the show is over, you should only get 3 days to talk about it. 3 days to talk about it on your social media, 3 days to talk about it with your family, 3 days to talk, and then after that, you got to resume back to normal living.
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even take you 3 days, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Give you supposed that space.
give you that space.
Yeah. But then next.
But then next.
Yeah.
Otherwise, even if you win, you can't live there. You got to create more.
Yep.
And then last but not least, I think that, what do they say? If you want to predict the future, you stay in the present and you pretty much get to work. Then you can predict it, because you can create it.
It's a motto you've lived by, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Phil, last question for you as we wind this down.
Yep.
Which I've been so grateful for your time today.
Yep.
Title of this podcast is the Fitness CEO Podcast. So from your lens, what does it mean being a CEO, Phil?
Oh, you're the tip of the spear. You're the first one in and the last one out. You're the person that people rely on. You're the person that will extend a helping hand to pull that person up, so then they can join you in this fight of making the business better. You will then know who you are and how you react versus respond to different things. And then the unknowns that come your way, you're then more than willing to raise your hand, to call a friend, call an expert, and get the help that you need, not just for yourself, but for the other families of those employees. So if you want to be a CEO, you may not be the first one to eat. You may be the last one to eat sometimes. And that's to protect the flock. And if you lead with love and great intentions and a firm belief of hard work and discipline and understanding your SOPs and stuff like that, I think you'll be okay with communicating to your staff what exactly your goal is, and if they cannot abide by that and become flexible with that, then they should seek employment elsewhere. But it's your job to set the tone. If you're having a shitty day, think about how that affects the team. It's your team, but you are also a part of it. You're not just the coach or the owner. You're a part of this team. And I think if they thought about it like that part, you're the quarterback or the point guard or whatever, you then can really help mold and grow people. You're the one calling the plays, but you're playing too.
Yeah.
You're not just in the front office.
Yeah.
And don't be that guy. That's the chairman's job, actually.
That's the ivory tower type of leader.
Right. That's the board of directors and the chairmans
right.
and stuff like that. But if you're a CEO, and we're talking about this business in particular,
In the trenches,
you
man.
are in, like, if you can't get your hands dirty, and maybe you should do it just to shock the shit out of everybody, to let them know that
Totally.
I'm here.
Totally.
And remind them why they signed up to work for this company. Why did they believe in you? So you have to remind them, just like how you have to remind your kids who the parent is, or your wife. Hey, I'll still date you, girl. I still got it. You got to let them know that you still got it. And expect them to be shocked. Because you finally showed them that you really care about this. The people that we've all associated with in business, the ones that we truly respect the most, are the ones that do the work like this. The ones that walk shoulder to shoulder with people. The ones that know how to have the difficult, most deepest conversations with people, but also know how to self-regulate those emotions and focus on the job. And realize that, is there passion? Absolutely. Because we love what we do. And I only want to be associated with people that love this every single day and at least can fake it and get the job done. And if they can't, then hey, this ain't for you, but I'm going to find that other person. Good luck. But I think that's my advice to them. And also to know when it's time to leave. To know when it's your time, to think of an exit that is appropriate. And because I didn't think of an actual exit of bodybuilding, like the day. So I think it's appropriate as an entrepreneur, I think it's appropriate as a CEO to think what that would look like and play around with that. Is that because you got a certain, your EBITDA is this, and this, and you were able to acquire other companies and you're able to buy some of their books and this and that. And next thing you know, you're able to show more profitability. So then you're getting looked at by all these other companies and wow, the money is great, but have you planned on what that money looks like for yourself and your constituents and everybody else? Or like you got to play game theory with everything. So you have to map out all these different permutations, all these simulations. You have to do all this stuff as a CEO because maybe you leaving will denature the DNA of that company that stood on its shoulders, like stood up strong for years. The last thing you want is like, let's say like a restaurant or even in this, this is the gym business, this is a relationship business. The CEO leaves, man, maybe bad leadership steps in. And even though you got paid and some other people got paid, maybe it dies. And that's why a lot of CEOs are forced to stay to make sure the transition is correct. But even then, like maybe if I was a CEO, I'd be like, man, maybe I don't want to leave. So maybe I have it in my contract to where like, maybe I do this first exit, but maybe I still stay on and I give some of my points up, but then I stay along for the second exit, which may be bigger and help more people. And then I can just be a chairman. So I'm still a part of the Fit Body Boot Camp or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just an example, but being as creative as you can but being as competitive as you can. I think we all can agree, like if you're with a competitor that is a owner or CEO of a company, ooh man, it may suck, but like I said earlier today, winning feels awesome.
Oh yeah.
And everybody wants to be on a winning team. So if you're on a winning team, you're in a winning business, you definitely want your CEO to champion through life. You want to be like that person. And that's when the CEO also has to recognize the fact that there's talent involved that maybe is better than them. Maybe you should coach that person to be better than you. Now you have the level of contribution at the end of your career in this field. And then you can be creative and say, man, maybe I'm just a CEO coach now. So that's just the way I look at all of this.
Phil Heath.
Yeah.
My man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
And before we wrap, I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge you. Before I do, though, in the small case that our audience hasn't connected with you, I want to give you the opportunity. Where can they find you?
Yes, so on Instagram, @Phil Heath. Same on every other channel. I guess we can't say Twitter, but it's X. So just think of Phil Heath, PhilHeath. Heath, not health. I know it's easy to get it messed up, but it's Phil Heath, Instagram, Facebook, X, and go on my link tree on the Instagram and you'll see the TikTok as well, because I'm going to build that up. And then I'm also building up the Phil Heath TV on YouTube, and then a new channel that is coming out for my podcast later this year, going into 2024 and beyond. A lot of cool stuff is happening, and I can give you more details about that, along with my documentary called Breaking Olympia, which has already won some film festivals.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and I cannot wait because it was co-produced by just Dwayne Johnson of Setbacks Productions, and Danny Garcia, two badasses, right? And Adam Scorgi and Brett Harvey of Scorgi Productions. They did an amazing job, and collectively, I mean, it's going to be, I truly feel that will provide even greater context of more of the man that, like you're seeing here,
Yep.
as opposed to just the champion bodybuilder. So it goes through, it's like, I can't give it away, but it basically, if you saw Generation Iron, throw that shit in the trash. This is the documentary that you need to see, because it is not a docudrama. It is my life. And that is going to be the springboard for showing what's been going on the past 3 years, what I have going on. So again, thanks, but yeah, at Phil Heath, all those things.
Phil, I appreciate you, my friend.
Right on, brother.
I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge you. I mean, clearly the greatness, the work ethic, the determination. I'm just in your presence. I just get fired up myself. I know our audience does as well. But even more than that, for the dude that you are and the role model that you are, because with great success, because also comes great responsibility. And I think you're a walking, living, breathing example of that. So I want to thank you for your
Thank
time,
you so much for saying that. And I'm in full gratitude. Thank you.
My friends, I know you got a ton out of this episode. Assuming you did, give this a like and a share. And as always, remember, no one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, and the time is now. Thanks. We'll see you in the next episode.